Yeah, he has that sense that there is a flow experience, which virtually all of us do experience at times. And the flow experience has a lot of qualities of this deep not doing. It's the flow, there is not self-consciousness, self-image. There can be a large amount of effort, but it feels effortless. Everything may be spontaneously happening without a sense of doing. So I think that can be an entryway if we track those kind of experiences, which I think most of us experience at times. When we're doing something we're really familiar with, maybe very, very good at, and we're just in a very natural state. So we can experience this in, if one's an artist or a musician, just being with something one does well, probably anything one does, a teacher, someone in the helping professions, cooking, could be even in meditating, that there are these experiences, sports, where there's just a sense of flow. And I think that can give a sense of not doing, because part of the sense of not doing in this deep sense is there's not a doer. There's not a sense of self as a doer. And there's not all the thinking, which is usually there and doing, oh, now I should do this, now I should do that. There's a spontaneity and a flow to it.
Yeah.
And in those, for most people, those are very, very beautiful and powerful experiences. So that's an access place, because I think we have to tune in to when those experiences are occurring, because they may just go by and we don't realize they're happening.
Is there a way to this is what I'm interested in, because there's definitely a link there between what we're saying about having a long-term perspective and the presence of this moment, and almost like allowing the action that arises on its own to lead us, rather than doing from that usual habitual place.
Yeah. However one accesses it, and again, it can be, hard to access from a doing perspective. So I think we have to, in my experience, maybe a first step is just to realize when it's already happening on its own, without me trying to make anything happen. And then, tune into those experiences when they're occurring and just enjoy them, and get better at it. And, when I've given talk series on the theme of doing and not doing, the starting point is to have this balance of doing and not doing. So for some of us, it means actually doing more, whether it's in meditation or daily life. And for some of us, it means learning how to relax more into aspects of non-doing. In meditation, it could mean really emphasizing receptivity more and letting go of, now I'm doing this, now I'm doing this, now I'm mindful of this, and just, it could be just relaxing. Oh, I'm having body sensations. Let me relax and just go into a more receptive mode. Let me be with the sunset in a receptive way. So I think that can be, the tuning into the flow experiences, and then opening up to being more receptive with one's experience. I think those are good entryways for developing the sense of non-doing, or moving towards that deeper sense that I described earlier.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. There's definitely a sense of this exploration of this not doing that we've just had, but I've got this curiosity coming up around the doing as well. And I know they go hand in hand, but something I've noticed within your book and your talks has been this kind of a interesting way of structuring practice. Of kind of maybe like focusing in on a certain element for a number of days, weeks, or years even. I think you mentioned the 37 wings being like a 2-year focus for you or something, which was like amazing to hear. And I was wondering, how you go about that, and why you've chosen that way, and how that's kind of informed your own practice, and what experience you've had with that kind of approach.
with the approach of
Yeah,
focusing on doing at times and then not doing.
but a specific kind of doing with a specific intention. Because what seems to be the case, and definitely share if I'm kind of off track here, but it seems to be there's a reflection on a topic, and then this kind of seems to come up over and over in some exercises in the book and a couple of what you've shared, talks that you've given.
Yeah.
So there's a kind of reflection on a topic, maybe one that you may have found friction with in daily experience. And then there's a going deeper into that intentionally, purposefully, and really, activating that doing element.
Yeah. I think for myself, my part of my interest in this topic is because I would characterize myself and my kind of upbringing conditioning of being a doer, so to speak. And doing a lot, being able to do a lot, whether it's early, do my homework or have academic success and develop this capacity. And so, I brought that same approach to meditation. And so I wanted to, for me, because doing had seemed to be something I was good at, and I got rewards. I got rewards academically or in other ways. So I brought that whole approach to spiritual life, naturally enough, and said, I'll just, I didn't say this consciously, but I more or less was saying to myself, I'll just be a really great meditative doer. This was kind of in the beginning. And, for me, this translated into meditating a lot. I remember some of my first retreats. These were in the insight meditation tradition at the Insight Meditation Society in Barre, Massachusetts, where the early teachers were people like Sharon Salzberg, Jack Kornfield, Joseph Goldstein. And I was doing a lot of those retreats, so to speak. And I wanted to be a good meditator. And I thought I would be a good meditator I didn't know anything other than to just do a lot. That translated into meditating for a longer time than other people, staying up late, getting up early. And, and then and of course, because I think I was in a little bit of a quandary as a doer for whom my past doing had been recognized and rewarded. How do you engage in a meditation retreat? And how can people tell that you're doing a good job? Maybe other than the teachers who you talk to, how can other people tell? Well, the reality is they can't. But I said, well, I guess they can tell if I sit for a long time and I sit and I have a really great, full lotus and all the externals basically. And, and I remember and of course, reality helped me to explode that set of operating assumptions, because I remember one retreat, I got sick and I had a cold and I couldn't sit very long and I was sniffling the whole time. And I knew that I thought that people would think, oh, he's a bad meditator, which of course, probably they weren't paying any attention, but it was actually an early, very difficult, painful experience, because in that retreat, I watched my self-image of being a good meditator fall apart. And it was quite painful, and even, went into some really painful experiences, that can happen at times. But sort of exploding that sense of being a doer. I'm giving that story partly just to give that sense of having a strong identity as a doer, which is the case for a lot of people. And so part of the, I'm going in two directions. I'll say one thing and then come back to your question. So part of what I encourage is to, in a way, look at the identity of being a doer. Look at the self-image. That involves a certain kind of doing. I can, use mindfulness. I can use reflection. I can set my intention to really track when I'm having a strong sense of doing. And one can find this especially maybe when there are times when one has free time or on vacation or a free day. And people, I work with a lot of people, they report getting nervous when they're not doing something, right? And I think that's a very familiar experience. And so that can be the sign of a strong sense of having an identity as a doer. And yet, one of the ways we work with that, in a sense, is by doing something, looking at it, reflecting, inquiring, setting intention to track it, and so forth. So I think my strength as a doer can be, is still a very important aspect of spiritual practice. So it means partly for myself, it meant having a lot of discipline, being able to, go through different teachings, work with them, having a mind that works well with structure, and as well as in teaching, well, a lot of learning in being in the teaching role, really going through different teachings. You were referring to a time when I went through one set of teachings that the Buddha called the 7 sets, which is sometimes called the 37 wings of awakening, which was sort of when he was asked to summarize what's most important, he referred to this list of 7 core teachings, including the 4 foundations of mindfulness, the 4 noble truths, the 4 types of wise effort, the 7 factors of awakening, and so forth. I've named probably 4 of them, I think. And so I went through those in a 2-year process, and sometimes I work with people where I take them through that, similar to what I did, and that's fruitful. So there's a definite place for doing in meditation. So what I was pointing to in our initial discussion was that I think in the most mature or most developed form, there's no longer a distinction between doing and not doing. And we can start opening up to that, but along the way, we can touch it at different times, but as a stable form of practice, I think it's fairly mature. And for most people, comes fairly late in their practice.
If you enjoyed this clip, the full episode will be made available up here somewhere, so feel free to check that out. If you're someone that's interested in working one-on-one with me and developing your practice of presence, reflecting on your life at the moment, and calibrating your trajectory, then feel free to head over to todaydreamer.com and get in touch. There's also a full catalogue of episodes available on the website, which are there to help you cultivate the practice of presence so that you can more deeply participate in the blossoming of the emergent world story. Until next time, be well.